Hi everybody! So today we are going to talk about core engagement. So core engagement is kind of this elusive action that you hear on YouTube, you hear in fitness classes, people are always screaming out, engage your core! And I feel like a lot of people out there don't actually know what that means. They kind of have this mentality that it's just like sucking in your abs super tight. Not actually the case. So today I want to go over just the basic foundations of how to actually engage your core muscles to give you better movement quality in anything you're doing, whether it's going to the grocery store, picking up your kids, driving down the highway, whatever it's going to be. You should always be engaging your core muscles in those actions in order to give yourself better movement quality over time. So I want to start by just going over some pretty normal kind of like faulty movement patterns, things that people do on the day-to-day that they don't even think about just because their body is compensating with imbalances. So we're going to do this from a side view to start. First thing is standing up nice and tall, so this is kind of like my neutral stance. First thing is going to be anterior pelvic tilt, pushing your butt out, letting your torso come forward. Usually this is hip flexors being pretty tight, maybe like posterior chain muscles being a little bit weak. It puts a lot of pressure on the lower back. This is obviously super exaggerated. Most people aren't like standing on the street like this, but just gives you an idea of what kind of faulty movement positioning looks like. So another one is anterior pelvic tilt. So this is what I like to call like the waiting in line with your groceries pose, because I just see so many people on the day-to-day, it's like have their groceries in their hands and they're like chilling, putting all the pressure on their lower back because they're holding this really heavy object. Very, very common to see this on the day-to-day. Once again, this is probably very maybe weak hip flexors, weak posterior chain, you know, and everybody's body is different. Everybody has their own compensations, but these are just very kind of common elements that go into your day-to-day movement that could be contributing to back pain, hip pain, things that we as people who can control our core, which we're going to go over right now, don't necessarily have to experience just by making a few quick changes. So let's dive into it, shall we? First thing I'm going to do is just get nice and Gumby and relaxed. Focus on not controlling my core. So here is just like my natural stance, you know, stomach is out, not really engaging in anything here. But if I was to begin this movement, I would think about putting both hands on my core, so the central region of my body. I want you guys to put one hand on your belly button and one hand on the spot on your back directly behind your belly button. And so here, we're gonna think about not just squeezing your abs in as tight as you can, but really creating tension as if you had a string pulling you from both sides, out the back and out of the front. So this is what it looks like if I come back in. Pulling through, creating tension in your whole abdominal area, not just squeezing the show-off abs, squeezing in from the sides and creating just like a nice base. So when this happens, a common tendency for people is they like squeeze their abs in tight and they push their chest forward. So if you have that issue, I want you to put your hands on either side of your rib cage and think about closing your rib cage in tight. I used to have this problem a lot actually, and then somebody taught me to think about sewing my rib cage together, which sounds a little gross, but you know, it works. Just to create better alignment in your spinal positioning and not have that push forward through your upper back. So now we've got tension in our abdominal area, our rib cage is nice and closed. Thinking about pulling your spine upwards, creating nice alignment. Last thing we're gonna do is engage the glute muscles. So squeeze the glutes, squeeze the pelvic floor muscles. It should kind of happen naturally. Once you squeeze the glutes, you'll feel a little bit of tension here. If you have like a weak pelvic floor or pelvic instability, that might actually be a little bit harder for you. That's one of my issues that I deal with. So just really focusing on engaging the glutes, pulling your tailbone long and down towards the floor, and squeezing these front muscles. And boom, you have officially engaged your core. So let's do that again. Shaking it out, starting from the beginning. we are going to pull your abs in and up. Close your rib cage if you need to. Squeeze the glutes and the pelvic floor muscles. Take a couple breaths here, see if you can just hold it. And that is engaging your core. So for some of you guys, that may have been a big feat. When I was very first learning to actually engage my core muscles, I would literally like shake. So if you were shaking in that, that's just your central nervous system activating. Don't think you're weak. That's a very hard movement to do. What makes it even harder is that this is the kind of control we should have in our core region when we're doing pretty much every movement on the day-to-day. So let's go ahead and just break it down into some common workout movements. Let's start namely with the squat. So I'm gonna back up a little bit here so you guys get a better view. But first one I'm gonna do is squat without any like core engagement, core control. I'm just gonna kind of drop and then come back up. So arms are gonna come out front. Get all Gumby. Drop. So tailbone shot down towards the floor, call it a butt wink. My shoulders came forward, spine rounded a little bit. Push back up. Not what we want to see. What we do want to see is core getting nice and tight, spine uplifting, glutes engaging before we even go down into that squat. Arms are just going to come up front for me. Boom. Let's do that one more time. So, no butt wink. My spine stayed relatively upright and straight. Shoulders didn't round forward. Everything was nice and aligned. I was thinking about lifting up with my core, keeping everything here engaged the entire way through the movement. So the other one I want to do, just another common kind of like workout and life movement, is the lunge. So when people lunge, they have this big tendency to drop into their hips. So this is super exaggerated, but this in essence is what we need to work on fixing. This is core engagement 101. So I want you guys to think about engaging your abs to pull your hip back into place, into alignment with your body. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like from the beginning to end. So getting everything nice and aligned, close your rib cage if you need to, squeeze your glutes a little bit. I'm gonna back up a little bit. And go ahead, take a controlled step forward. See how everything stayed nice and aligned? That is core control in your lunge position, all the way from beginning to end. In that movement particularly, you may also find that when you have your core engaged, there's a lot less wobbling back and forth in terms of like balance and stability. Your core also plays a huge a huge role in your body's ability to balance itself, to create stability. So practicing these kinds of techniques are super, super important and ultimately will just improve your overall quality of life. So thank you so much for watching my Core 101. I would love to hear your guys' questions. If you have any feedback, anything you think I missed, anything you want me to elaborate on, I'm happy to. Just give me a shout. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.